seconds to go. Start. Foreign policy cannot be divorced from a country's internal policy. Stop. Any country, any government, any political party must decide what it believes, conviction or belief. Stop. What is our foreign policy? Sign of interrogation. Some people take the word non-alignment and think that is the whole of our foreign policy. Stop. In a way, it is not the word non-alignment, but what non-alignment stands for, namely that we believe in, independently judging all issues. Stop. We do not wish to be tied to any group or to any country. Stop. Para. We are today nearer to 21st century than we are to the 19th. Stop. But, unfortunately, we find that over large portions of the world, thinking is still very much in the 19th century. Stop. The world has changed, we helped to change it because of India's freedom movement, because of India becoming free, and other countries in Asia and Europe becoming free. Stop. This has been the greatest change in the world. Stop. Although it was obvious to us that we would become free and that our freedom would lead to the freedom of other countries, this process came somewhat as a shock to the colonial powers. Stop. For some time they seemed to be stunned by that shock, but it has not taken long for them to recover. Stop. And since they have recovered, we see another very subtle changes coming over the world, rather dangerous changed colonialism. Stop. This has actually happened in some places, and in other places there have been attempts that it should happen. Stop. Therefore, the difficulties before the developing countries are still very great. Stop. And we can face them not merely by idealism, not merely by sentimentalism, but by very clear thinking and hard-headed analysis of the situation. Stop. I am glad that the seminar has had the benefit of the analysis of the various people who have spoken here about different problems in different parts of the world. Stop. Para. Madam, with the presentation of the 4 budget by Dr. Manmohan Singh, the Indian economy has turned a full circle. Stop. We are back square one. Stop. Dr. Manmohan Singh has not only lost his Midas touch, but he is finding himself at his death's end. Stop. This budget was a sore disappointment for the supporters of the new economic policy, while being a sad confirmation of the world apprehensions of the critics of the new economic policy. Stop. In other words, the candle of Dr. Singh's constituency has begun to be burnt from both the ends. Stop. The Economist of London, which has been a great admirer of Sri Manmohan Singh, referring to the budget, said, India goes for broke. Stop. The Indian industrialists, while cautiously welcoming the budget, have expressed many deep fears about the deindustrialization that this budget will further spur. Stop. The most ardent admirers of Sri Manmohan Singh have been the stockbrokers. Stop. Even they have been disappointed. Stop. It has spelt gloom even for the stock market. Stop. It has exposed not only the bankruptcy of the government of India's economic position, but also the intellectual insolvency of the liberalization policy, which has been dictated to us by the IMF and the World Bank. It has provided a dramatic demonstration of the criticism we have been offering of the new economic policy in the last 3 years. It is not only dramatic, but it has also proved to be traumatic for the poor people of India. What was the supreme objective of the new economic policy which was launched in mid 1991? Sign of interrogation. That was macroeconomic stabilization through reduction in fiscal deficit. It was in regard to this objective that all the steps which were taken were justified. Where do we find ourselves? Sign of interrogation. Our failure on this very important count has not only been colossal but also criminal. Madam, the targeted fiscal deficit was 4% in 1993-94. In fact, it was 4%. It was later revised upwards and raised to 4%. None of the critics of Sri Manmohan Singh ever anticipated that this deficit would rise to 7%. What are the reasons? Sign of interrogation. The real mischief does not lie in fiscal deficit. The mischief lies in revenue deficit. The revenue deficit in 1990-91 was 2% of our GDP. What is the revenue deficit this year in 1993-94? I am talking of revenue deficit. It was 2% in 1990-91. Para. The Honorable Railway Minister has mentioned about 6 do's and don'ts. He mentions that they are using sniffer dogs wherever they are available. I think, if you do not have sniffer dogs in all the railway stations, it is useless to have sniffer dogs in Punjab, because a train can start from Trivandrum or Madras, with a time bomb. The clock of a time bomb is programmed not only for 24 hours but also for 365 days. So, a bomb can be placed anywhere in the country. So, the right thing for the railway minister will be to see that there are sniffer dogs in all the railway stations to sniff the RDX. Para. Will they take the help of the state government, the state police to see that the baggage is properly scrutinized and checked at the railway stations? Sign of interrogation. If you go to a railway platform, you find visitors with the passengers. You find vagabonds and beggars also. I don't think that they can check these people for bombs. The minister has mentioned that checking is being done in the coaches and in the washing yards. I have made a suggestion in the past that no person who is not a passenger, should be permitted to enter a platform unless he accompanies a handicapped person. Will the railway minister do away with the system of allowing visitors to the platforms because there is no need for this? Sign of interrogation. If you go to foreign countries, you find nobody there except the passengers. The Indian platform is worse than a slum. You find beggars, anti-social elements and everybody else there. Why does the railway minister not take this into cognizance and stop the issuing of the platform tickets, because they are not visitors but they are permanent residents of the platform? Sign of interrogation. they have all the facilities there, stop. They have got the toilet, comma, and they have got water for bathing, stop. They have got catering facilities, stop. So, comma, I think, comma, it is high time that in the name of security the railway minister put a ban to this, stop. I think this is the only way in which the security can be maintained, stop. Otherwise, comma, whatever steps you take, comma, it will be very difficult to control the act of terrorists, stop.